Okay. So now we're going to get started on that problem. We had a request this week for instrumental trailer. And the piece that I chose, which is really appropriate, is Debussy's La Cathédrale en Beauté de Saint-Cathedral. I would literally break this. The piano and the keyboard stand before I tried to play it. So I have put together a collection of impressionist slides of the sea, the story behind this piece. It's based on a Brittonic legend of a cathedral that sunk beneath the ocean. And at certain times of the year it rises and you can see it in the mist. That's what Debussy depicts in the music. So since we're talking about illusions today, that was a good place to start. So let me... So Tom, do you have that ready to go?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you, David. Welcome again, everybody. The next thing on our agenda is to force you to get together and talk to other people, which, you know, is everybody's favorite part. Just a little bit of a reminder of what this is. Today, you're here for a Sunday Assembly service, a global movement for one great good, and then our values are everywhere. Oh boy, live better.
Stand up, better. Stand up. Stand up and let's
Stand up and turn around with you. Live better, help often, and under more. And so that's kind of what we do and why we do it. Okay, so let's everybody kind of mingle about, particularly those of you who don't normally talk to the people at some of the tables, some people who are new or just coming in. Let's sort of mingle. And as a topic to start you off today, what's the most surprising thing that happened to you this summer? It's entirely subjective, but that's the point.
Cooper. I've met you, but good to meet you.
Okay. Most surprising thing that's happened to me. I'm not sure the most surprising thing for me that I've done is I just attended my first tap dancing class. It's not something I actually took one when I was like first grade, but I had not had that for 20 years. It's very scary, but it turns out it has a muscle memory, which is awesome. And yeah, it's taking more classes.
Howdy.
Howdy. How are you doing? Good. So the most surprising thing that happened to me this summer is I moved 3 times this summer. 3 times I moved. Yeah, well, I actually moved. Yeah, I moved 3 times in just over 2 months.
I've never been.
I moved from Alaska to my first place on the north side of Minneapolis until my my housemates said, you can't, we don't like, your job is, I work from home and your job is keeping us up. So then it was to move into town, but the move got broken up by a house sitting gig. So that was the second move, and then finally a week ago I moved into town. So there we go. I'm very used to it. I enjoy it.
Yeah, it helps you learn to cut down on what you have.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah. Yeah.
Nothing really surprising happened to me this summer, but this summer, you know, I'm a personal care attendant for my high-functioning autistic grandson.
Okay.
And because of doing that, I was available when all of a sudden a friend of the family, their daycare was not going to work out for them anymore. So all this summer I watched a 4- and a 6-year-old little girls.
Okay.
And quite often my daughter's boyfriend, I had his 2 5-year-old little girls,
Twins.
and also their stepsister, who is also 5 years old.
So you went from caring for 1 to caring for 6? Did I cut that? Oh my gosh. That is an adjustment.
Everybody else,
Well,
but yeah.
let's see. Okay. Oh, besides that, now not so often do I watch the older boys in the family, so there was 3 more right there. So, but yes, there was once that I had 7 kids under my arm and went to Valley Fair with them.
Oh my god.
But at least the boys were old enough and cell phone availability. They were able to go and go different places, and so I'd be like, okay, girls basically just want to be at the wave pool.
Yeah.
We're planting ourselves at the wave pool. You can go out and go on 2 to 3 rides, and then you have to come back and check in.
Gotcha.
And we will just keep cycling through that. You know, you've got a cell phone in case you need to, in case I have to run with the girls somewhere, you know.
I think I saw a sign. That
So I was able to, whenever the girls decided, okay, we want to go to the little kids water park. So I text them saying, okay, we're going to the little kids water park now. But yeah, that was an interesting thing.
I'd say that was quite surprising. It's certainly not what you expected at the beginning of the song.
Yeah. Well, it was eventful, I would say. It was a slow build-up thing.
Well,
It was just like, oh, well, what's one more? I'm already insane. My insanity is proven and certified. Now, you know, and just to know that I was able to help out that many families, you know, with.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like it all worked out. It's really cool.
Yeah, so it is interesting now that I'm getting back into school.
Yeah.
The last one is the 4-year-old, which on Tuesday will start preschool. So I'll only have her in the mornings, and then between school letting out and mom and dad getting off work.
Sure.
So I'm, for the most, so now my schedule is I pick up my grandson at his house from his school bus, go to the school of this other family and pick up the 2 girls, the 4 to 6-year-olds. Yeah, and then go to my place until 6, and then take the girls home, and now and then take them home. But that's a very fluid situation. Quite often I end up having to work and stuff. But but yeah, so I had a busy summer. So now
Mine too, for very different reasons, obviously.
Yeah.
It didn't kill us on the test drive.
So now things that keep me busy more often is, you know, my daughter always has projects for me. First was because, you know, she hooked up with this guy with 4 kids. You know, all of a sudden,
Probably 6 or 7 times a year.
okay, we would like some loft beds
do something
built,
outside.
you know.
Oh my gosh.
They could have gone and
I got a Prius.
just bought some
social activity.
lofts or whatever.
Yeah.
And
But I have done work doing specialty walls and finishes and stuff. Even though almost a year ago I had a seizure, and so my brain's a little mushy. But so, you know, I made some really loft bricks, loft beds with all built out of cedar, and you know, and got 2 different tones of wood. So
We're beckoned.
You asked just a little bit, just
That is really cool. I was like,
before the band, David, we asked us on our next musical journey of illusion and mystery.
So this next song, first song, is the music is probably familiar. The lyrics are going to be completely different.
Why are they different, David?
They are different because number 1, the original lyrics are crap. Number 2, we're talking about illusions in photos and video today, and there is some magic involved. Do you believe in magic of the optical kind? Are you fooled by the tricks that can play on your mind? Is it magic? No, it's optical theory. See, every house illusion make your eyes go bleary. These arts techniques may seem like deception, but it's really just a matter of depth perception. It looks to us like magic. Is physical fault that white triangle floating is just a gestalt apophony? It's a human feature. It's technically advanced for pattern-seeking creatures. You stare at a picture and you feel the pressure. How'd you do that, Mr. MC Escher? You're lost behind this magic that'll blow your mind. From 10-second bites like parallel lines, and maybe if the angle is right, you're the Eiffel Tower. Up here the same height. Our eyes tend to skim over information, so light a false perspective or the real causation. Yeah, do you believe in magic? Believe in the magic from our pleased to see minds that causes you to hallucinate different sized lines that makes the magic eye image so damn hard to find. Talking about magic. That was my weekend project. It died.
These are the original lyrics here.
No alteration. Technology. Looking through you, where did you go? I thought I knew you. What did I know? You don't look different, but you have changed. I'm looking through you. You're not the same. Our lips are moving. I cannot hear. Your voice is soothing, but the words aren't clear. You don't sound different, but you have changed. I'm looking through you. You're not the same. Why, tell me, why did you not treat me right? Love has a nasty habit of disappearing overnight. You're thinking of me the same old way. You were above me, but not today. The only difference is you're down there. I'm looking through you, and you're away. Through you, where did you go? I thought I knew you. What did I know? You don't look different, but you have changed. I'm looking through you. You're not the same.
And now our friend Tom has a reading.
This is adapted from Plato. It's an article by Martin Heidegger about the cave. Whatever has been unhidden to human beings at any given time, as well as the manner of its unhiddenness, has to be transformed by education. In Greek, unhiddenness is called aletheia, a word we translate as truth. And for a long time now, the truth has meant the agreement of the representation in thought with the thing in itself. We must understand, however, that formative education and truth come together into essential unity. People live chained inside the cave, engrossed in what they immediately encounter. Those whose chains are removed now come a little nearer to what is true, and when one's gaze is fully freed from its capacity to shadows, it becomes possible of the person who has been freed to enter the sphere of what is more unhidden. Someone who has been unshackled stands in the binding force of validity of their own form. By looking, we see what things themselves are. Only in this self-showing does the appearing thing become unhidden and accessible. The most unhidden shows itself in whatness of a being. Without such a self-showing of the whatness, each and every specific thing, in fact absolutely everything, would remain hidden. The most unhidden is also called, it is so called because it is what appears antecedently in everything that appears, and it makes whatever appears to be accessible. Authentic liberation is the steadiness of being oriented toward that which appears in its visible form, and which is the most unhidden in this appearing. Freedom exists only as freedom exists only as the orientation that is structured in this way. Thus, the fulfillment of the essence of education can be achieved only in the region of and on the basis of the most unhidden, i.e. the truest, i.e. the truth in the proper sense. The essence of education is grounded in the essence of truth.
Thank you, Tom. The next part of our standing service after a reading is a talk by someone who is an expert or has a strong lifetime interest in a particular topic. Today we're getting a little bit of help from our outgoing president, Keith Mullin, who has been with us for a very long time, and today we're getting a little bit of expertise from his professional life. Keith graduated from Metropolitan State University in 2010 with a BA in screenwriting. He's been involved with over 20 short film productions in the last 6 years and has worn just about every hat there is in film production. His work has been selected to screen at film festivals all over the country and has won awards for directing, editing, cinematography, and lighting. He's always eager to get his hands dirty learning a new technique or a piece of equipment. And today, he's going to talk to us about optical illusions. Keith?
Thanks, Ben. And first thing we do is make sure this thing is working. All right. See, no technical difficulties whatsoever. All right. So, optical illusions in film and photography. There are a lot of really cool and interesting things you can do with cameras that take your brain. First one I'm going to talk about is light painting. So when you take a picture, there's an amount of light coming from your subject into the camera, hitting either the film or the sensor, and how long it takes that light to make an image can be played with. So an image like this one, this isn't a graphical rendering, this isn't somebody drawing on the picture after it's done, that is an actual picture as taken. What's happened is it's a long exposure, probably 10 to 20 seconds, and there's actually a person in front of the camera that has, in this case, probably some sort of LED light stick that they're waving around, and because the camera is set in such a way that it is not very sensitive to light, the person doesn't show up, but the light, because it's that much brighter, does. And so, somebody started the camera going and went out and made this cool wavy picture. There's a lot of other things you can do with light painting. Somebody traced the outline of their SUV. My guess is that they used a sparkler for this one because there's like little wavy lights coming off of the lines, and so they took probably a very long exposure, to make all those lines because they had to do it all in one go. But start the picture going, take the sparkler, and just go and trace the outlines of, in this case, a vehicle, and they even went off into the distance. So this is probably several minutes worth of work. That sparkler was like really, really, really bright, and for them not to just completely blow out because the camera can't be too sensitive. Let's make art. Somebody said, swing. And then really creepy messages. Like, I am here. Can't really see it because of the light coming in, but there's nobody in the picture. But somebody took the time to write, I am here in space. It's a fun little thing to do. If you own any sort of higher grade consumer camera, you can do this. It's pretty easy to do. There's lots of tutorials online for it. The dress. Is everybody familiar with the dress? That's the dress. Anybody see white and gold? White and gold, white and gold, white and gold. Black and blue? I see black and blue. And so what's happening here is an effect of our brains and digital imagery. This is the original image, but our brains make a lot of assumptions based on the context in which we see things. So, the light in here is way different than the light out there, but if we look back and forth, everything looks normal. It doesn't do that in photography. How it shows up depends a lot on the source of the light and how the camera is set. And so when we're looking at digital imagery, our brains make the same sorts of assumptions, but they can be wrong. So if you see white and gold, I've doctored this image. What's happening is your brain has assumed that the image was underexposed, meaning that it hadn't been provided enough light, and the source of the light was blue. And so this probably looks a lot more white and gold to a lot more people. If you assume it's black and blue, or if you see black and blue, you have assumed that the image was overexposed with yellow light. And so this is the three images. The one in the middle is the original, the one on the left is the one I doctored up for white and gold, the one on the right is correct. The dress is black and blue, the image was overexposed, and the color balance, as it's called in photography, was incorrect. And that was an artifact of the fact it was taken on a phone, and phones are typically not very great cameras. And so all the auto settings made a lot of mistakes, and you end up with an image that some people see as white and gold. What's really interesting is, I think, because this was a huge Twitter thing, and there was polls done, and in the end, I think it's 65 or 70% of people see white and gold, which is incorrect. It is black and blue. I can't see white and gold in any of these images, but then again, I deal with this sort of stuff all the time, so I'm trained to see things right. It is, this is a thing I stole from XKCD, the webcomic, showing how much context can change the way we see things. The dresses are exactly the same, but based off of the background, we see them very, very different. This is the effect for the song. Sort of. Which one? Like the Eisenberger. No. But the one where it's all about context. Eddinghaus. Where the context of it So if you see white and gold, it's because your brain's playing tricks on you. Motion in film is actually an illusion. In the real world, obviously things move. In film, they don't. You get still images. The motion picture, technology in itself is actually a offshoot of an experiment, because there's a guy and he's like, horses run and they pick up all of their feet at the same time. And there's this other guy who's like, no. And so the guy that was saying that horses pick up all their feet at the same time set up a series of cameras. This was in the late 1800s. So camera technology, not as good as it is today. So he set up a series of cameras to capture a horse running past where the cameras were set up. And in series. And if you play them fast enough, it actually looks like they're moving. And you're like, oh wow, this is cool technology, or cool illusion. So these are the actual first motion picture images. And it's true, horses do pick up all their feet when they're running. And so what happens is, in film there's a still image, and then there's another one, another one, another one, another one, another one, another one, so on and so forth. And they go faster and faster until we have motion. This is a stop animation film that I did. It's all still images. I took them with a stills camera and just strung them together. And they play back at a specific speed, and we actually get to see the motion. This happens at around 24 frames per second. If it goes slower than this, you can actually start to pick out individual frames. And so if you watch something like Nightmare Before Christmas, it doesn't look as smooth because stop animation is a very time-consuming process. And if you do it at 15 frames per second, it looks pretty good, and you get to do 10 less frames, or 8 less frames. I think. You get to do fewer frames per second of film. This was a 5-minute short that I did. It involves somewhere over 5,000 individual images. So, it adds up really quickly how much time you get to save. The phenomena that creates this is called persistence of vision. And it's just a trick in our brains where, we fill in that gap. Because if you looked at it, it was, the hand was here, and then it was here. And when it's going fast enough, we don't see it go from here to here as a discrete movement. We just see the motion, which is cool. And all film is like this, whether it's digital or print. Most movies you see are at 24 frames per second. TVs at 30 or 60. If you have a newer TV and everything looks all weird and super smooth motion, there's a setting in your TV that you should turn on because it looks awful. But what that's doing is it's creating extra frames based off of, it looks at this frame, creates one image. The dolly zoom, there's a lot of names for this. The zolly, the trombone zoom, pushing and pulling, vertigo effect, the jaw stretch zoom. You have all seen this. Here's some examples. And what is happening is the camera is being moved either forward or backward. The lens is being zoomed to keep framing right and the subject at the same size. But because the camera's moving, the perspective changes. It can make, in this instance, the subject makes it seem bigger and more important. It can expand distances. This is not, a magic of special effects. This is a hallway or an overlook, and all they're doing is moving the camera and changing the zoom on the lens. And so, the foreground stays the same, but man, those houses are getting farther away. You can do the opposite. Watch the car in the background of this shot. It gets bigger and bigger and bigger. It compresses the distance. It changes the mood of a shot. It's a cool effect. It can, one of the first instances was in Vertigo, where you're looking down the stairs and all of a sudden things look funky. And then I love this shot because this guy keeps walking and walking and walking and walking and walking. He doesn't get any bigger. So he's not getting closer, and you know, this effect is changing the way that we see the shot. And it's really hard to accomplish. You need like 3 people to do it. You have to have one person moving the camera, you have to have one person zooming the camera to make sure that you know your subjects are staying where you want them. And then you need one person focusing the camera, because as the camera moves, the focus changes. It's hard to pull off. You need a lot of people. It's all about perspective. Forced perspective, also known as how they shot for Lord of the Rings. It's like, well, how do you shoot it with normal-sized people and have Gandalf be 6 feet tall and Frodo be 3 foot nothing? It's all about forced perspective. So I got another little video. This is not Lord of the Rings. This is a guy that made this video. He does a little bit of magic at first with the red ball. And it's a little sheer. There we go. Tiny little bit. And it's all about how far an object is away from the camera and how the camera is angled. So obviously that big cup was on a table at the back of the room, but because of where the camera is positioned, you don't see the table. It looks like it's sitting on the foreground. And same with the chair and the painting. This is a pretty good, fun little example. There's a lot of technical things that go into making it look a little better, a little more believable, but that's kind of weird. The painting was out of focus and it should have been in focus because it was too close to the camera. But, so it's about the size of the objects, about the distance of the objects, and the camera angle manipulation. They actually, in Lord of the Rings, built special sets for doing shots like this where the camera was moving. Because this is very dependent on the camera not moving for this particular example. And so they built sets where in the foreground was one of the characters had a table and then camera on a track where it would move, and then on the other side of the fixed object was one of the other actors on the whole stage piece that also moved along with the so the camera would move this way, and then the actor in the background would move that way, so that they could do some more interesting camera movement type shots and still use forced perspective. There's a special feature about it that you can find on the internet that's very fascinating. Because they developed the method to do that for that movie. Lord of the Rings, first one, Fellowship of the Ring. And there's weird stuff that happens, like sorcery. Again, that is not a digitally manipulated image. That is a helicopter that is flying without its rotors spinning. That's not true. Its rotors are spinning. But what has happened is the person that shot this video, they shot it very intentionally. They made some guesses as to how fast the rotors were spinning, and so they set their shutter speed on the camera to match the rate at which the blades were moving. And then the frame rate also has to be a multiple of that number. And so you end up, exposing a frame when the blades are exactly in the same spot. Towards the end of this little clip, you can kind of see the blades start to turn a little bit. The helicopter's either accelerating or decelerating, and that throws the rotors off of the sequence, and so you actually just see some rotation. That's a really cool effect. First time I saw it, I'm like, what's going on here? And you can find multiples of these types of videos online. But that's just some of the cool things that you can do with cameras and camera technology. I didn't even come close to touching all of the possibilities. Does anybody have any questions about any of this stuff? What do you?
What's the most complicated technique that you have used in filmmaking?
Oh, that would definitely be stop motion.
Just because it's time consuming?
It's very time consuming. The scale is very different. So like working with a full-size person is pretty easy. Working with a figurine that's about this tall, it gets a lot more complicated. You guys get out little pliers and fingers, and like you can't move the camera at all. It's got to stay, and it's time consuming. And then I was dumb and started doing some more complicated stuff like camera movements while things are moving. But yeah, stop animation is probably the most technical thing I've ever done like this. I mean, I've done some light painting, but again, that's pretty easy to do once you understand the concept behind it. I have not done a dolly zoom, but that's tough. That is really tough. No other questions? All right. Sweet. Well, thank you very much, Keith. That was very informative. Let's give him a hand. And the band has a song for us.
So one of the neat things about programming songs for Sundays is trying to kind of program along a theme, keep different angles of theme. So this next song that we're going to do is one of my favorites. So taking a more technical theme like Optical Illusions and then finding a more personal application for this is Jody Mitchell will say.
Moves and flows of angel hair and ice cream castles in the air and feather canyons everywhere. I've looked at clouds that way, and now they only block the sun. They rain and snow on everyone. So many things I would have done, but clouds got in my way. I've looked at clouds from both sides now, from up and down, and still somehow it's clouds, illusions I recall. I really don't know clouds at all. Moons and Junes and ferris wheels, the dizzy dancing way that you feel as every fairy tale comes real. I've looked at love that way, but now it's just another show. You leave them laughing when you go, and if you care, don't let them know. Don't give yourself away. I've looked at love from both sides now, from give and take, and still somehow it's love's illusions I recall. I really don't know love at all.
So we're coming close to the end of our program, and the next thing on the list is sort of just take a moment and put it all together. We had quite a bit of music. We had Tom's reading from Martin Heidegger on Plato, and we had Keith's talk on some of the details of how optical illusions in films work. Let's just take a moment and process that. There's a lot there. Okay, it sounds like everybody did their processing pretty quickly. So we have a couple of announcements before we let you go and turn back to the band for one more song. We have our official Sunday Assembly annual meeting to follow this assembly, about 12:30 right here. That's where if you want to get more involved or you want to have a say in who gets to be more involved, you should come vote. And I promise it's more fun than that makes it. We also have coming up on the 1st of October, Sunday, October 1st, we have a fall picnic. Get outside one last time as a group before winter comes and knocks our door down, as it typically does here. And then I think, Anya, you had something you wanted to bring up as well?
I just wanted to let everybody know that I'm going to be participating in a fundraiser for a theater I'm a part of. We're doing an Angelo Weber review. That's the second weekend in October. I will post a link to some information on the Facebook page if anyone would be interested in coming.
Okay, thank you. And then our next official assembly meeting like this is scheduled for Sunday, November 12th, right here. Watch Meetup and Facebook for more details about exactly who our speaker will be. But I think you'll probably like it regardless of who the speaker is. Let's see. The other thing is we are an entirely volunteer-run organization. You'll find there's a pink pig in the back of the room, which if you like what you saw today, or if you didn't like what you saw today and think it should be better, put money in, and then we will try to respond to any feedback that we get. We also recently did a survey of our membership and pulled a couple of our long-standing events. So if you have ideas, give them to us for events. We will help organize. We will help generate notice for things, and we're happy to participate and partner with other groups when that's possible. Okay, I think I've talked for long enough here. Does anybody have any questions about any of that stuff? Well, we are all here together.
We are providing all of the hamburgers, brats, buns, condiments for the picnic, and then people are asked to bring something to share. There will be also veggie burgers for people who do not eat meat.
Okay, and if those details aren't yet on our Facebook and Meetup pages, they will be very soon. Otherwise, I will hope to see many of you at our annual meeting to follow. Let's have the band play us out.
We have a guest. Who are you?
I'm Hunter. I just really like this song, so I'm going to sing with y'all.
We were literally practicing like, oh, this song. Come sing it. Okay. Things? Each thing.
Copy.
Copy. And then we'll see you again at 12:30.
Volunteer.
Sorry, I didn't really know like anything other than your
I never had a donut. I've had like 3. Like, I don't know what's up with everybody. Yeah, I got donuts.
Those actually-